ready for this? It's showtime. Lights, fans, action. Oh yeah, we've got action. Faster, tougher, more ferocious. There's nothing like League. This is the Betfred Super League.
Got me here. It took a big chunk off. It's bleeding. It's bleeding. Oh no, it's bleeding. The thing just ripped my ear off. What do you think?
Hello again and welcome once more to another half an hour's chat about all things rugby league. This is Eddie and Stevo, the podcast, supported all the way by the major sponsors of the sport here in the UK. It's Betfred, of course. So we wondered, could Super League get any better after the drama we've seen over the previous 2 weeks with both Hull KR and Wigan losing ground at the top of the table? Too right we could. How about the Leigh Leopards, Stevo, winning at St Helens for the first time in 43 years, 60 seconds away from nilling them at home for the first time in Super League history. What an effort.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's what our game needs. We don't need just one or two clubs just running away with it. And that's why I'm a little bit disappointed, Eddie, that Warrington are just on the fringe. I thought they'd have a very good season, but they've had a run of injuries that doesn't help. But for Leigh Leopards, 3 months ago, people were saying, they've had the run. They went this, that, and the other. They don't look the same. They look okay, as far as I'm concerned. That is a great win, what I mean? But I'm trying to tell all the rugby league fans, don't get too excited. We've still got a long way to go.
Leigh, wow, they look the real deal just now. 3 wins in a row: Wigan, Hull KR, and St Helens. Tessie New, Bailey Hodgson, Edwin Ipapi, tremendous performance also from Owen Trout, the England hopeful as well. And Stevo, 6 of their last 8 matches at home. What a chance they've got now of making the top 2.
Look, when you look at the forward pack, irrespective of how good 3 quarters are, if you don't have a good forward pack, then you're not going to win any title whatsoever. Yeah, we know they talk about, we need the spine this and spine that. It all comes down to hard, solid work. And if the forwards set the platform, the 3 quarters can run riot. And that is what's happening. But also, and if you look at the records back now, and you look at the results, defence, defence, defence. It's so important.
St Helens were depleted and disrupted. They gave it their all, but they were denied their 6th successive win. Paul Wellens, another honest coach, Stevo, beaten by the better team, he said.
Yeah, well, look, there are times when you've got to be honest with yourself. And otherwise, if you don't start sort of complaining to the referee, we had a bad, we thought that should have been given and that's it, this, that and the other. You don't see that from the top coaches. They understand that if they've got the quality, that they will be in and around when it comes to the playoff situation.
And they've got the second best defence, have Leigh, in Super League just now. Maybe they could go all the way, I mean, blimey, what an achievement that'd be for them.
Yeah, well, look, you can't blame them. As I've just said, defence, defence, defence. It's something that you look at the Australian game. They are so hungry to ensure that the opposition don't get into any position to score a try or even give away a penalty. They work so hard on that department. And, it's a trend that many years ago, Eddie, it was all about, 3 quarters, scoring tries, this, that, and the other. You look at the try-scoring list for the wingers and the centres. Not as many as in the olden days. when you get the likes of Brian Bevan, over 500 tries in his career, Billy Boston, Neil Fox. These were great players. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to say, well, was the defence as good as what we're seeing now? And you've got to admit, no, the defence in this modern game is so solid. One mistake and you let a try in, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's frantic. It really is. Some good news for St. Helens fans, by the way. Jack Welsby, who had that knee surgery at the beginning of last month, said to be out for at least 16 weeks. He's now targeting the middle of next month for his return. If that happens, great news for Saints, great news for England ahead of the Ashes series. Look, yes. On Friday, it was a case of after the Lord Mayor's show. 2 games with blowout scorelines. Leeds and Salford did go ahead. Remember last week, rumours that Salford players might go on strike. Well, they didn't. And after a decent showing in the first half, they succumbed in the second 40. Leeds running in 32 unanswered points, including a hat-trick for this rising star, Alfie Edgell. Leeds back on track. But again, Brad Arthur, Stevo, asked again, are you going to stay on? Are you going? What's happening? And he wouldn't answer. He wouldn't answer. August the 1st.
Yeah, he has now. He's made it quite clear, the Australian press, that he will give an answer on the 1st of August. He will reveal if he's staying at Leeds or if he's going back to Australia. Now, the word is from down under is that the Newcastle Knights, they're going to get rid of their coach, Adam O'Brien. He could be sacked. Now, remember, Brad Arthur's sons, Matt and Jake, they play at the Knights. So Arthur is an obvious replacement.
I think he's going, don't you? I really do.
Well, I hate to say this, Eddie, but you've got to look after your future. And the money that you can earn in Australia is far more than what they can get in the UK. We all are aware of that. That is the reason why I keep saying, have talks with the NRL to take 50% of running the game in the UK. And I think that is what we need. Now, I know that there's a meeting on sometime next week to discuss a few things in which way it's going to go, even the talk about how we're going to have a 14-team competition. It's all speculation.
Oh, I don't know where the game's going. We might find out a bit more next week because we've got an interview coming up with Nigel Wood on the podcast next week. I'm going to see him and talk to him. So let's see if Nigel's got any answers for us. It'll be interesting to hear. Anyway, look, Leeds won 42-6. At Huddersfield, it was even worse. The Giants losing again, this time to a rampant Wakefield, bouncing back from last week's defeat at Hull. 46 points to 10. Now, harsh words written and said about the Giants. Awful, dreadful, hopeless. Not nice. Not nice for a coach to hear. Luke Robinson under pressure, Stevo, do you think?
Well, of course, he's got to be under pressure. It's, you've only got to look at Castleford and Maguire and you just think to yourself, it's not a job that you could rely on to be there for a few years. I mean, it's all about results. If you don't get the results, then you're running the risk of being sacked.
I'm not sure if I'm right about this, but I think they compete fairly well early on, the Huddersfield Giants. Every game they play, they start okay, then they fall apart and things go against them. I just wonder if you've got a point for establishing early leads. I wonder if they'd be in the top 6.
Well, thankfully, we don't have. So, so having said that, Eddie, I can remember way back, 30, 40 years ago, that there was speculation about saying if you were leading at half-time, you got 1 point. And if you finish the game winning, you got an extra 2 points. So that it has been talked about many years ago.
Wasn't that Nigel's idea? Wasn't that Nigel Wood's idea?
No, it was well before. No, Nigel was still at school when they were talking about that.
Okay.
But it's look, speculation about anything. They want to change it. There's also talk. Would you believe that they want to change the state of origin? Now, it's a full house every time they played, irrespective whether they're playing Perth, down in Melbourne, Sydney, whatever, up in Brisbane, because it's a great tournament. But quite a few clubs are now beginning to say, well, if we're doing all that well, a lot of our best players won't be available for the following week. And they're also concerned about the welfare of those particular players, because quite a few of them will back up. So they'll play midweek, and then 3 days later, they'll play for their clubs. And there's a call by a lot of people, and a lot of people influential in the game, saying, we cannot just ruin the players' welfare. And it's a case of Penrith, where the Penrith coach has told his son, you won't be playing this week. You need to have a rest, because they're on the verge of shaking off. Remember, early in the season, they were at the bottom of the league. Well, they're flying high now. And irrespective of what position, when it's all done and dusted at the end of the season, if Penrith are in the shout, then they'll become favourites yet again.
So what are they thinking about in Australia about the State of Origin? Making it a 3-match series at the end of the season, or what? Because if they do that, Stevo, if they make it a 3-match over 3 weeks, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, that's a death knell for international rugby league, isn't it?
Well, you'd think so, but a lot of people are speculating and say, well, maybe we should do that after the grand final. But a lot of teams are against having to, train after the grand final. I mean, not just physically, but mentally. It's a strain on whether you win, lose, or draw, irrespective. It is something that the Australians are thinking about. And it's not just sheer speculation from the media. It's whether we can keep our players fit and healthy.
Stevo, it seems to me that the game of rugby league, the sport of rugby league, worldwide is in a state of flux. Everything seems to be up in the air. Everyone wants to change everything. Everyone wants to do this, that, and the other. Do you agree?
I think that we always should be looking for change, not too much. A lot of people complained in regards to, remember, if you tried to score a try in the corner, if you touch the corner flag, then it was no try.
Yeah, but that's a technicality, isn't it? That's just a technicality, and they've sorted that out now. That's great.
Yes, but the thing is that trying to rest players, they do that now. If you get an assessment, a head injury, then you can't play the following week. So look, it's a difficult, because trying to juggle with all the balls up in the air. The more balls you try, you'll get more balls dropping to the floor. In other words, we can't do that. Correct. It's all about speculation, Eddie. But the thing is, at least we are trying to do that.
Listen, let's get back to the real world. A shock at Wigan, another one, suggesting the champions aren't firing on all cylinders right now. They're doing it tough with their injuries. So are many other clubs, as you say. You've just mentioned head injury assessments there. Jay Field, he's failed his, so he won't be playing this weekend. But hey, Hull beat them at home for the second time, beat Wigan at home in the Challenge Cup earlier this year. 32-12 this time. Aidan Caesar, 5-star performance. Hull's biggest win at Wigan in Super League history. And, what a turnaround for them at the moment.
Yeah, look, as I say, Pete won't panic. I don't think they'd ever call him Panic Pete, because he's got the situation whereby he realises, and we all have. Look at Hull Kingston Rovers without Michael Lewis. They weren't all that red hot when they did that. But the one thing that I watched that Hull Wigan game, and I can assure you, the one reason why the Black and Whites won so convincingly was their defence. They never allowed Wigan any room whatsoever. They completely shut them down. And that's not surprising when you get an Australian coach.
No, that's true. How do you feel about Christian Wade, Stevo, the new rugby union convert for Wigan? So another sensational try for him in the second half, but he looked really dodgy under the high ball. Hull picked him out all right. Wigan looked a shadow of the side that they really are. But, Christian Wade, he's learning the game, obviously. I hope he's going to be okay.
Yeah, look, it's a different kettle of fish when they come from rugby union, and quite a lot of them don't realise that whenever they play an opposition, the opposition coach, they were looking for, well, where's their weak moment? Who can we pepper and get them under a lot of trouble? And it's happening with the winger. It's as simple as that. He may score sensational tries, but if he drops the ball 4 times and then concede 4 tries, it's not the right balance that you want. I'm not saying that he can't be taught to be able to catch the ball a lot quicker than that. It's not easy to turn from one coat to another, and he'll find it difficult. But I'm sure that they will ensure that he goes through a lot of training in regards to taking the high ball.
I'm sure they will.
You can't blame the black and whites for peppering him, because they knew he was that he had a problem.
And 6 of their last 8 are at home now, between now and the end of the season, so that they look odds on to make the 6. John Cartwright wants them to enjoy the challenge of getting to the playoffs. It'll be a remarkable turnaround if they do. Catalan Dragons, Stevo, pulled apart again, this time by Hull KR. Mikey's back, Stevo. Mikey Lewis is back, and so are the Rovers. 36-4 winners.
We spoke last week, Eddie, about the fact that I see a lot in Mikey Lewis of the great Alex Murphy. He's a talent. He's a star. And Alex Murphy was a star. And that's what we need in our game. We spoke about the fact that I was disappointed about not a rugby league player at Wimbledon being announced, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it have been great if we got Michael Lewis, the great, this is a new star of rugby league, etc. and so forth. But
I can see you on the front row of the Royal Box next year. That you've got a campaign going here. You've got a campaign. Stevo for the Royal Box. That's what you're up now. Tell you.
No. Listen, I'd have to buy a suit. And I looked the other week about what it would cost me for a lovely suit, and we're talking £400 or £500, Eddie.
Well, there's a lot of material in your suits. Let's be fair. Let's be fair about that. Look, it's a split round coming up. 3 games this weekend, 3 next. Rovers have got 2 weeks before the next game against Salford. Willie Peter says he'll use these 2 weeks to rest and reset his squad. But they are again now favourites for the League Leaders' Shield. What about Catalan, Stevo? Their coach, Joel Tompkins, says they should now start preparing for next year. So it sounds like their top 6 race has run its course.
Yeah, and I don't think that even if they got back onto, really, really good playing and good management, I think that's a pretty good quote from Tompkins as well, is to think that, let's start bringing some local juniors through. They've tried it, but they still have this penchant for we'll have overseas players. Well, they've been in the league now far too long for it just to be thinking about we need 2 or 3 Australian players to come and lift the game. By now, they should have as a backup all the junior development at its top level. Maybe they've just taken their eye off the ball slightly in regards to that sort of department, but that is the future of Catalan Dragons.
Well, let's look at the last game of the weekend. Castleford against Warrington. Warrington, 3 men already out for the rest of this year. Well, now they can add a 4th name to the list, Roderick Tye. He's got a pectoral injury and he won't be seen again until 2026. Every game recently has been dubbed make or break for Warrington. This certainly was, and they lost 14-20 at the Jungle. So they're now 3 points adrift of the top 6. Hull and Wakefield both winning, of course. What about Warrington's playoff hopes?
Well, they're still in with a chance. Sam Burgess looked well deflated. The injury crisis, but he does understand that they're not the only club that's having to struggle through with injuries. he was a bit upset because he thought that the Josh Thulis try should have been awarded, the penalty try. It was certainly a high tackle before the line. But
only just before the line.
And he was concerned about the easy points his men are giving away. I keep going on about it, Eddie. Defence. And amazingly, ever since the Wembley episode, they seem to have struggled in their defence. A lot of confidence was knocked out of them, especially with the fact it was only seconds remaining before they lost the Challenge Cup final. Mentally, that wouldn't have helped him, and the injuries certainly do that. But look, he'll bounce back, don't worry. He's a Dewsbury boy anyway, and of course he will.
Oh, I know, I realise that. I know he'll do no wrong in your eyes, but it is reported that Warrington have signed the Parramatta back rower Ryan Matteson until the end of the season. He's on his way over. He's the former Roosters man. He played in the 22 grand final against Penrith, didn't he, this Ryan Matteson? Maybe he'll just toughen them up a bit. But it's a tough ask for Warrington now to be involved in those playoffs.
Yeah, it is. And look, Sam will have them down and just speak to them very, very calmly, slowly. So this is where we're just falling down a little bit. This is where we have to improve. And obviously, it's in defence.
Castleford, by the way, Stevo, interviewing for the vacant coaching role all this week. And Chris Chester doesn't want it, by the way. He was emphatic about that. Now, you said Danny Maguire's departure was because Chris Chester had moved in, but he doesn't want the job. He has said that. No, absolutely not. Doesn't want it.
No, I don't think Chester really wanted to take over the coaching role. I think he perhaps realised that they need someone maybe with a lot more experience in regards to coaching. I mean, you can't say that against Maguire in regards to playing the game and one of the all-time greats. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. That just because you were a great player, you're going to become a great coach. It did surprise me that they didn't give him the opportunity to go the full season. And that's where a lot of clubs find it difficult. And it didn't surprise me that Chris Chester has said, look, don't rush. Let's wait. Let's wait until the end of the season. There's no doubt in my mind that it will be an Australian that will come over. And there's quite a few out of jobs down under. And they will be quite happy to jump on a plane.
Des Hasler, Stevo, maybe he fancies jumping on a plane because he's in a bit of bother down under, isn't he? They
lost to the West Tigers 21-20, and there's footage in the dressing room after the game. You often see a coach spray the players and just say, we should have done this, we should have done that. But quite frankly, the video that is being shown down under is that Des Hasler completely lost the plot. And it was embarrassing, to be fair, Eddie. I've seen the video of it, and it is embarrassing that a senior coach is talking to his players in such a way.
You have said for a few weeks now, if they don't make the playoffs, he's getting the sack anyway. He's thinking about retiring. So maybe he's pulled the trigger on himself. Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, we're all human beings. You and I have quite often, against each other, lost the plot. But because we're so good friends, you get over it. But
exactly.
I must say, it's probably one of the most embarrassing videos that I've ever seen of a coach talking to the players. I just could not believe it.
It was a rant, was it? A real rant?
Oh, more than a rant, Eddie. You could see the red in his face, and he just completely lost it. Completely lost the plot. And quite a lot of people, including Phil Gould, who, as you know, he's prone to make quite a few statements. He said it was embarrassing, and for once, I agree with him.
You do. Okay. All right, well, there's hopefully nothing embarrassing over the last half hour or so. Next week, Stevo, I'm off to talk to Nigel Wood. I know you've got a few questions you've sent me you want answering, so I will put those to him. I think it'll be an interesting half hour or so next week with Nigel, because he's the man charged with taking the game forward. And gee whiz, what a job he's got in his hands, eh?
He certainly has, but also there's another youngster that's got a lot on his hands. Lewis Dodd, South Sydney. He really hasn't shown his prowess over there at the moment, but he has been selected to play in the number 7 shirt against the Cronulla Sharks. So Bennett has said, and virtually just say, go out, do your best. He's been playing in the lower grades, which hasn't helped him. And this is his real opportunity. And I do hope that Lewis Dodd shows what he can do down under, because there's a lot of speculation that Dodd's management have even started negotiating a release. And if he fails to impress this weekend, I think you may find that Lewis Dodd will be on his way back to the UK.
Great stuff, Steve. You always come up with a little nugget here and there, and that one was saved right for the end. So we'll keep a very close eye on that. Okay, Nigel next week, you the week after. So take care of yourself, and we'll see how Lewis Dodd gets on. And doubtless we will talk about all things rugby league again in a couple of weeks' time. But don't miss the Nigel Wood episode next week. Talk to you soon. Take it easy.
Take care, top man.